Today is April 15th, 2025, and we are talking to Ron and Shirley Abernathy. Did I pronounce your names right?
Yes.
And we have Kathy Curver and Angela Lehman and myself, Judy Meyer. Thanks for letting us come in and talk to you. We have not done any interviews for a long time, so it's fun to be able to start again and talk to people. And I want to start back in the beginning. Where were you born? Let's start with Ron. Where were you born?
Well, I was born in St. Louis at Deaconess Hospital in 1945.
Okay.
And we lived in South City for, well, I guess till I was 7 or 8 years old.
And then what?
And then we moved out here to St. Anne.
Oh, okay.
And all of our family was from South City and could not understand what are you moving out the North County? There's nothing out there. So, the price was right for my mom and dad to buy in St. Anne, and the houses were brand new.
Nice.
They were still building when we moved in there, and my brother and I had a good time running around in the neighborhood into the houses that weren't completed.
And what school did you go to?
Actually, I went to St. Gregory's Catholic School
Okay.
till 5th grade, and then I transferred. We went to Hake, which was a junior high school at the time on Ashby.
The Rittner district.
Yes, and went to Rittner High School from there.
Did you go on to anything after that?
I worked at Mercantile Bank downtown when I got out of high school
Okay.
for about 3 years, and got into the movement. I was drafted, but then I decided if I could choose where I wanted to, what branch to be in, that I would join, good or bad. So I joined. So I was in for 3 years.
In what branch?
I was in the Army.
Okay.
And I, after basic training, which I had at
Here in Missouri?
yes,
Fort Leonard Wood?
Fort Leonard Wood. I had basic training there. It was in January,
Oh, okay.
the end of January. And we left the Mart building downtown by bus to Fort Leonard Wood, and it was snowing.
Oh, yeah.
So we get down to Fort Leonard Wood, and everybody had their normal everyday clothes on and trudging around in the snow.
Oh.
It was like 8 o'clock at night by the time we got there. So we wandered around for about an hour looking for a barracks to put us in. They finally put us in one so we wouldn't get sick. And did my basic training there. From there, went to Fort Hood, Texas.
Okay.
And was there, did my
AIT?
basic training there. And I didn't go to AIT school. I went right from there to a signal company at Fort Hood. So I stayed right on the base, and I was probably one of the few that knew and had a little bit of typing skills. So they said, oh good, we're gonna put you in an office. I thought, okay, that might be interesting. So I worked in that signal company in the company headquarters for the rest of the year that I had in service. So after I was in for a year, it was during the Vietnam War.
Okay, thank you.
I guess. So then we found out that our whole company was going to Vietnam. So, we had like 3 or 4 months to prepare for it. At that time, Shirley and I were already married.
Oh.
And we got married when I was in the military. After basic training, she came down to Fort Hood with us, or with me.
An experience.
We rented a little apartment wasn't much of a town right by Fort Leonard Wood now. Things have changed a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
But, you know, after about 4 months, we came back here. I got to stay for about a week, go back to Fort Hood, and we went by train, our whole company did, to San Diego, California.
That's kind of a long journey,
It was a
isn't it?
long train ride. I'd never been on a train, so that was kind of interesting. Took the train ride there, and it got even crazier because from there we went by merchant marine ship to Vietnam, which it said other than a small runabout here, never was on a big ship.
Did you get seasick at all?
Definitely.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's 30 days.
Oh.
30-day boat ride, and I ate crackers and water
Oh.
most of the time. And I experienced a lot and got seasick,
Oh.
but before it got too, you find out real quick, as long as you're not out into the main part of the ocean, it's pretty smooth for the first couple of days.
Uh-huh.
Then it gets really rough.
Oh.
So I'm in the dining room, and every portholes, you know, all over, and it was the typical scene. The boat was doing this. So you look out the window and you would actually see the water, and then you'd see the sky. The water and the sky, and you didn't want to look at it too long, but
Yeah.
we did have a stop in Japan for like a half a day,
Mm-hmm.
and then went on to Vietnam, and I spent a year there, and luckily being in a communications division, I didn't have to go out like a lot of the guys did to put communication satellites up in various spots, usually high up on a mountainside.
Right.
And, you know, we were on a beach and dredging through the sand every day. We thought we were really moved up in the world because we got wooden pallets and we laid them down for a sidewalk
Oh, uh-huh.
and had huge tents so we slept in, you know. So on the way before we came back, Shirley, I think I got to make a phone call and said, hey, guess what, you know, in 2 days we're coming back. So we knew we were going by airplane at the time, Pan American, long gone. We went to a pretty big city there, but the flight was delayed by a day.
Oh, no.
So she was expecting me on that day and never heard from me. So at the time, I don't even remember who the senator was, but she made a phone call to somebody in Jefferson City to say, where is my husband? He's supposed to be back.
You promised me.
And of course, we couldn't make any phone calls where we were at, and then the plane ride back was nice. Compared to the boat, it was excellent. They gave us nice, damp, cold tacos. It was hot. Went through the whole seasons in Vietnam, the rainy, I mean,
Monsoon.
we improved some to where we had wooden barracks, concrete floors, but if you're on the bottom floor, it wasn't unusual for water to be running through because it just rained and rained and rained for days and days.
When you came back to the United States, did you have to serve any more time?
Yes, I did. I had like 8 or 9 months to go, and typical of the military, when we got back into Seattle is where we came back to. And of course they smile and say, well, where would you like to be stationed? And I said, oh, as close to home as I can
they
get.
gave you a choice?
Well, they
Sort
said
of?
there was a choice.
Oh.
So I got back home here, had 30 days leave, got my papers, and we went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Oh, yeah, that's real close.
Yeah.
And St. Louis is hot and humid, and so is South Carolina. very high. So we spent 8 months there. At that point, I had a pretty much basically easy job, still working in a office, but we did that school there, that fort, they had school for officer candidates. So that was the job I had in this small office. We would take applications for guys who thought they would want to become an officer. So we would have to contact 3 officers that would have a meeting to interview these kids. So we had to call the officers and plan all of that out, but couldn't wait to get out.
And you were with him during that time?
Yes, yes,
And you were married and you were
Yes.
with him?
yes.
Well, let's stop there and start with Shirley. Shirley, where did you start your life?
Well, I was born in, I was born in St. Joseph Hospital in St. Charles.
Okay.
Yeah, and my parents lived on a farm. I had this already. My parents lived on a farm. Can you cut that part out? But before you cross the old bridge.
St. Charles.
So that we had a farm there. That's why I was born in St. Charles Hospital. We came back to our residence, which was the farm, and that's where I lived till I was 6.
Was it called Missouri Bottom
It
area?
was Missouri Bottom, yes, and
Was that by where the Missouri athletic fields are?
well, it was sort of
BMAC?
where the auto auction.
Okay,
Is now.
just to place it for us.
Yes, just sort of like that before you cross the bridge.
Okay.
And I lived there till I was 6 years old. Yeah, I think it was 6. Then we moved to what they called Pattonville at that time, which was around Fifi Baptist Church and that area by Brannike's, and Raymond Avenue is where we lived, 3851 Raymond. And I lived there and got married.
Wait a minute, excuse me. Where'd you go to school?
Oh, Pattonville. Pattonville. I went to all the grade schools on Fifi Road, and then I went to the junior high on St. Charles Rock Road.
Where Holman is?
Holman.
Mhm.
That was sort of a brand new school at that time. And then I went to Pattonville High School, which they tore down over the years, which was on the Rock Road also. That's where I graduated from.
Where like the learning center and everything is?
Yes, yes. And I graduated in 64.
How big was your graduating class?
I guess maybe 75 kids. 75 kids at that time. But then after that, when I graduated from high school, I got a job at St. Louis Lambert Airport.
Oh, really?
And that was quite a place to work. We had people would travel. It was a very, very busy airport. And a lot of movie stars would come in,
Oh, wow.
like Bob Hope
Oh.
and Phyllis Diller.
Oh,
And
wow.
Phyllis Diller, she gave me her autograph. And so when I was still living at home, I thought, that lady's nobody. So I was cleaning things out, and I pitched her autograph.
Oh,
But it was a very, very busy place at that time, and when people were flying, they would really dress up, suits and everything. Well, if you got a visit from Bob Hope that would come in at the airport, it would just be like everybody would be, where is he, where is he, what, area is he at? But it was a fun place to work.
what did you do for the airport?
Well, at that time, Lambert would do catering to the airlines, which was American and all the other flights that they had there going out. And I worked for Missouri Sports Service, which did the catering to the airlines, which was in the basement of Lambert. And I did the bookkeeping.
Oh,
And they had the restaurant on the main level, the Kitty Hawk, they called it, and they had a bar and some snack bars that you could just grab a fast bite to eat. And I did the bookkeeping for those. It was only like four girls in the office. And we would close the books, just strictly bookkeeping that we would do. And then after that, I went to work for, you had to work weekends. That was one of the things I didn't like, is working weekends.
when you say weekends, Saturday and Sunday?
Saturday and Sunday, and then you'd get a day off during the week, a couple days. So Ron and I were dating off and on at that time too, and it just, I was like, I just hate this. So I found a different job at University of Missouri as a switchboard operator.
At UMSL,
In,
what we call UMSL?
Yes, so
On Natural Bridge.
yes, and it was a 2-position board, switchboard, and I had no experience. They taught me at University of Missouri, and I really liked it. It was a very, very busy board, to myself and another lady. And then when Ron came home, we got married on, let's see, that was in '66. We got married, and I went back with him to Fort Hood. And I was there about 5-6 months, and he got shipped out to, let me think, to Vietnam.
Right.
So he just had a few days to get me back home. So then I stayed with my parents while he was in service. And so he went to Vietnam, and I got a job. And of course I would tell the employer, oh yes, when he comes back, I'll still be here, you know. Well, when he came back, I left the job again. I got a job at a place called Alpha, ALPHA, and they were a distributorship for General Electric light bulbs. And when he came back, then I left again, and we went to Columbia, South Carolina, to Fort Jackson, and we rented a home there. The couple was in Germany, so we rented the home while he was in the military also, the couple was. So we rented the home, and we had some funny experiences too that went on there. Ron's mom and dad were coming to visit us, and I thought, well, this place, I need to maybe wash the curtains and do some heavy-duty jobs, you know, to get ready for my in-laws.
Yes.
So I decided to take the curtains down in the living room. This was all furnished. I took the curtains down, put them in the wash machine. I opened the wash machine, and they were the size of socks.
Oh.
And I
Shredded.
closed, just shredded. And I'm like, oh my goodness, these curtains are, I mean, this is a rental, and look what I did to the curtains. So I go to the phone, and I said, Ron, you know you have the buddy that works in the supply unit. By any chance, could he get us some curtains? And he said, what did you do now? So he come home with the curtains. Of course, they were military green curtains, but we didn't care at this point. You know, we needed curtains. So that was just a funny experience. And then another one was, we had a little poodle dog, and we had went out for the evening, and we come back home, and the little dog had chewed the coffee table to like a toothpick.
Oh my gosh.
I looked at the table, and I thought, why does that look lopsided? Well, the dog ate the leg of the coffee table. So we had some funny experiences there. And so that's, and then I came home when Ron was in Vietnam, came home, and we were kind of fortunate because he got a R&R, and that's when we, I guess if you were there, what, 6 months or so?
I think
or
after 6
9?
months you
6
could.
months. Then I met him in Hawaii,
Okay.
and we were there for a week, and that was really a nice trip to Hawaii.
Sure.
And because I had a job and we didn't have no family at that time, I was able to go.
Right.
And so that all worked out real good. And now,
We had
do you have anything else?
a lot of funny stories. I mean, when we first got to Fort Hood, we lived in a little duplex. When I say little, it was 1 bedroom,
A little.
very little, combination kitchen and living room. Well, they didn't have air conditioning.
Oh.
They had coolers, which looked like an air conditioner, and cold water ran over it and blew air out. So these 2 friends of mine that was pretty close to, one of them was working in the supply office, came to the house to eat Thanksgiving dinner. So their wife, they weren't even married. So Shirley's gonna make a turkey, which she had never did before. So she cooks the turkey. I mean, the turkey was all done, looked good, everything, and we sit down. And I don't know whether I was cutting it, whatever, I don't remember the details, but she had left everything inside the turkey when she cooked it. Never cooked one at home before, so she didn't know.
It was only like 20.
But we ate it anyway,
Yeah,
and
well.
enjoyed it.
Well,
Yeah.
experience is the best teacher.
Oh, yeah, that was some interesting times, and it said that house we rented was a 3-bedroom big house, but again, South Carolina, there was no air conditioning in the house.
Right.
So that was my first credit card, a Sears credit card, to buy a big window unit to put in the kitchen,
Right.
which I did, especially since my mom and dad were coming, and her
Okay.
mom and dad were gonna come down. We wanted to make it somewhat cool. So did that. I learned a lot of stuff on my own, like they had this huge, we don't see much anymore, outside cement or concrete block, they're barbecue pits,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
with the chimney. So
Yeah.
South Carolina has a lot of pine trees. So there was 2 or 3 of them, and they had a regular pickup like once a month for pine needles. There was so many that you'd just rake them up to the curb, and they had a big truck come by. So I thought, why don't I just burn those? Not having enough sense not to.
What happens when you burn pine needles?
It's like an explosion.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, I put them in this fire pit
Yeah.
and lit it, and then I'm looking at these flames that are like 8 or 10 foot high. Luckily it was out in the middle of the yard,
Right.
and that was an experience. I decided to barbecue. So of course it was Sunday back then. Of course the stores weren't open nowhere, even South Carolina the same way. So I thought I didn't have any lighter fluid. I just put some gasoline on
Oh. Oh.
it. So I'm lighting it, and I'm holding the gas can in this hand and lighting it. All of a sudden the flame goes over there. I was underneath a carport, so luckily we avoided disaster with that one too. So we learned a lot the hard way,
Right.
experiencing. But
Oh my.
yeah, she worked at Washington U for a long time, switchboard operator also.
So when you were finished with the military, discharged and everything, then you came back, and then where did you live?
Then we lived in a duplex in St. Anne's for a short time. Actually, we rented from my brother. And Ron had went to barber school when we came back, and went to barber school. Was that a year and a half? A
Yeah.
year
Yeah.
downtown. He
Yeah.
worked downtown at Moeller. That was a big barber school at that time. And then he had to be an apprentice for 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I had to
he
work.
was an apprentice at a shop in, was that?
No, it was on Natural Bridge on the other side of the airport in,
Right.
I guess that's St. John's. So got done with my apprenticeship and I thought, you know what, I just want to have my own shop. I don't want to pay rent.
Uh-huh.
At that time, that's how it worked. So probably, I think it was 1971 or 2, we had lived in that duplex and this house became available. I was already working.
Yeah, but you got the shop up here.
Yeah, right at where the old city hall is now.
On Natural Bridge.
Yes, on Natural Bridge.
Where the
There's this little shopping center.
National Guard uses
Yes, where
that.
they're at now.
That was the old city hall.
Yes.
And you had a shop.
Right across the street. There's a little
Oh.
shopping center. There's like 3 spots.
Beauty shop.
Okay.
There was a beauty shop, a barber shop, and at the time,
Trophy place, Wortman Trophies.
yes, Woltman Trophies. He ended up buying the building,
Okay.
and he had the trophy shop there. He since, well, he passed away, but I think the family still owns the one down Natural Bridge farther.
Yes.
And so that's how I got started in the barber business. And I was there by myself working in the shop, bought all new equipment. Of course, being right across from the city hall, I called it Town Hall Barber Shop. So that was my first start at being in business. And it was doing okay. I was making a decent living after 6 or 8 months at it. And the opportunity became available to move because
New shopping center.
there wasn't as much traffic. So I moved down Natural Bridge farther where
Bryan Institute.
it used to be Bryant Institute on Natural Bridge. There was a movie theater there. It was a new shopping center. Now it's some type of doctor's office across from the apartments.
Oh,
I don't
think I
know if
what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know remember
Right.
the name of what, but they had, at the time, it was a new movie company, Jerry Lewis Movie Theater,
Yes.
moved in there. So I thought, more traffic, that's a good spot to go. So we packed up everything, and when my lease was up, and moved down there into a new spot, and was there for probably 3 years, and the theater never did go over, and there was a laundromat. There was several things in there, but it never really went over big. So probably about 3 years, and there was a barber on Natural Bridge and Fifi. There was a strip shopping center, a big one.
By Klaus's.
Klaus's Market
Okay.
was there. There was a laundromat, a liquor store, a bar.
There was
Big-
also a preschool there because
Yes.
my children went to a
Right.
preschool
The
there.
preschool was
corner.
right on the corner,
Uh-huh.
and there was
Yes.
a gas station right
Yes.
there. Yes, so the opportunity, that gentleman was retiring, and he came to me and he said, you know, would you like to buy the shop from me? I'm retiring, and I've got plenty of business, and at the time there was another barber there working with him. So I thought about it, and he said you could just make payments to me. I said, okay. So moved up there again, took all of our equipment out and moved it all up there, put it all
The
back
plumber
up
got to
again.
know us
The
well.
back bars, and it's 3 chairs, so he had all this stuff to set up and sinks and all that. So we did that and stayed there for probably 20 years or better. And unfortunately, then the airport decided they wanted to expand.
Right.
So that area was probably the only place that was left untouched while they were grading all the property around here.
Yes.
I mean, we look out the window and it just, you'd see the big earth movers moving dirt across Natural Bridge. And I think they liked keeping Claus's Market there too because the workers could get some food.
Right.
So, I mean, we were the last business there. And of course, unfortunately, they were buying out houses, so our business was diminishing.
Right. Yes. And
So unfortunately, and I must say that I guess the government, we didn't think they treated us fair. They gave us some moving expense, but I kept telling customers, I said, I know you're gonna have to move, but you're gonna move into another house that you're gonna get. We don't have no place to go. And, you know, they're not paying us to relocate somewhere. I mean, they gave me some amount of money, but it wasn't near enough.
no, that's a shame. I want to ask you a question. May sound a little silly, but in these times we live in, when I go to a place to have my hair cut, whether it's Fantastic Sam's or these other places, they do men, women, children. What about you as a barber?
They never, I mean, that just wasn't done. When I went to barber school, there was beauticians that did women's hair, and the men did the men's hair. That's just the way it was for many years. It gradually changed over the time. I had to move from there, and we looked around for a spot. I moved up by Tony's Donuts, which was in Maryland Heights, which I wasn't thrilled about doing that, but it was a pretty good location at the time, right in the same shopping center where Sarah's Pizza
Right,
is.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we stayed there for about 15. The gentleman that was with me, his name happens to be Ron also.
Oh, my.
Moved with me because once you have customers established, you really can't move very far.
True.
So we moved up there. We were there for about 15 years and had a really good business. The only other barber in Maryland Heights that was there retired, luckily, at the same time we moved up. So we got some of his business. So it worked out good. But the haircut business is, you know, you either have your clients or you don't. I was always worried about moving because of losing customers, and she told me, said, you know, ladies will follow beauticians for miles
I
to
think
get
that's
haircuts.
true. I think
And
that is true.
I never did think that, but I found out that was true.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, I mean, I moved all over Natural Bridge. From there, we ended up moving to, well, I was still there. We were going to retire, this other fellow and myself.
Oh, when Tom, who one of your customers was, Mickey Gill.
Oh, yeah. We had not a lot of celebrities, and you may or may not know his name, but Mickey Carroll,
Oh, from the
From the
Wizard
Wizard
of
of
Oz.
Oz.
a munchkin, was a customer.
And how come? How did he find you?
I think it was just, he just
Coincidence?
looked us up in the yellow pages at the time. It's
Did
kind
he live around in the
He
area?
lived in Overland, no, St.
Belnor.
John's,
Was it Belnor?
Belnor. That's right,
Okay.
Belnor.
How about that?
And his big thing at the time was, it's still going on, trying to protect Belnor, and he wanted to keep Normandy Golf Course open.
Oh,
And the fight's still going on
Right.
about that. But
right.
he was quite a character. I mean, anybody that came in, he always carried a briefcase. He had a driver because he was only 4 feet. And he was, I always had a driver to bring him around,
Oh,
and had a pretty high-pitched voice. It's his normal voice, so he'd be sitting in the chair and you couldn't really tell how big he was, but
uh-huh.
a lot of guys came in and thought it was a lady
Oh,
until he wasn't shy. He made sure he knew who you
well,
were.
how interesting. Now, were you one of the barbers that you see sometimes that has your customers' pictures autographed and put them on the wall? Did you do that?
We did that with his. That's the only one we did. I still got a couple of his autographs. She's not sure where they're at, but he gave us a miniature, that size, pair of ruby slippers.
Oh, fun.
Signed.
Yes.
Oh, fun.
Some of the stories he told were amazing. I mean,
Oh,
I can only go by what he told us, and he wasn't a person to make up stories. His godfather, now we're going back to when that movie was made. He was doing vaudeville. So this is going back to 1920, maybe 1920s. And his actual godfather, he worked in Chicago, mostly. His godfather was Al Capone. Honest.
a notorious
Yes.
gangster?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, for heaven's sake.
Very interesting to hear his story. He actually told us he knew Judy Garland, and I guess he was a actor at the time and did vaudeville, and they asked him, because he had probably one of the few speaking parts in The Wizard of Oz, and they asked him to be in it, and he thought, this movie's going to be a flop. And he said if it wasn't for Judy Garland asking me personally to be in it, I probably wouldn't have.
Well, good.
But-
That's
That's
interesting.
interesting. He was a
Yeah.
interesting person. And then you did the umpire. You had a St. Louis.
Yeah, we had a St. Louis, I don't know if he still lives in St. Louis, an umpire. At the time, he was only a first or second year umpire, major league umpire. And I think he did the first game at what is now the new ballpark. And gave Ron, the other guy, and myself tickets to come to the game.
Good.
So I don't think he's a celebrity, but anyway, yeah, we had, I've probably seen most everybody in Bridgeton at some time or another, going on 50
Right.
years.
Uh-huh.
So we were gonna retire, which I did, part-time. So we retired, the other barber and myself. You're talking about ladies cutting hair.
Right.
I tried to sell the shop. It was a very busy 2-chair shop, enough to make a good living for 2 people. No barbers. There's very few. I went to the barber schools around. No, I went to a barber school in Springfield, Missouri, which was pretty good size. Nope, couldn't get anybody. So we said, well, I guess we'll close up. Well, a good friend of mine who went to high school with me at Redner was also a barber, and he was close here. He had a shop at Northwest Plaza, right next to Florsheim Shoes, way back when, and he had a shop where Grandpa Pigeons used to be. People that don't remember much about Grandpa Pigeons, there was Grandpa Pigeons and 2 businesses. That was it. A barber shop and a beauty shop, right next door to one in the inside. So he was going to retire. Well, when Grandpa Pigeons sold out to Walmart, the barber and the beautician moved up to, trying to think of where it would be.
The bicycle shop.
Yeah, the bicycle shop. Am I taking too long?
That's okay. It's been just fun listening to.
We enjoyed doing it, but we moved from there up to there part-time, and now we're at a beauty shop behind Chick-fil-A on the Rock Road, Sheer Genius. And Ron and I still work together.
You do.
And we work on Thursday and Friday.
Okay, everybody. You
Yeah,
can-
appointment only, so,
Oh, how about that?
yeah, so,
Thank you.
and I don't know when I'm gonna quit.
Oh, well, keep going.
I tell everybody,
going.
take it 1 year at a time, said I'll be
All right.
working till next year.
And we know, we were just talking earlier before the interview started, that you are very active in the Bridgeton community in the Kiwanis organization.
Yes,
How did you get started in that?
Well, again, a customer of mine by the name, you may recognize him, the old police chief here, George Crelow,
I don't know.
was the chief of police here, and he was a member of the club. And he said, well, you can either join or I'll arrest you. So at the time it was mostly businessmen, and
No
so,
ladies.
no, yeah, there was no ladies in the club at the time. So I
ladies.
joined. I've been in 50 years.
Oh, my.
In September.
Yeah, in September. I was the president years ago in the late 80s, and I'm the president again, going on 3 years of doing it. So, yeah, a lot of experience, and our club's been around and doing things in Bridgeton, a lot of charity things, a lot of fundraisers, the pancake breakfast we just had. We do a senior barbecue now every September at Bridgeton Athletic
Complex.
Complex,
Mhm.
and pork steaks and all the fixings, and it's free to the seniors.
Oh, nice.
And we're just doing some scholarships for kids, so all the money we make, we give away.
And fishing derby.
And yeah, we do a kids fishing derby in June, and that's free. 3 years up to 12 years old.
How about
and
that?
We furnish the bait. It's at Hellebush Park. They just show up, fish. We have prizes. Maryland Heights joins in, and Bridgeton with some gifts. And Bridgeton furnishes the soft drinks. Maryland Heights furnishes the hot dogs and buns. And after, we only fish for 1 hour. And I was just telling one of the firemen at our pancake breakfast, this is probably going to be our 10th or 11th year of doing this. I should not, nobody's ever got a hook stuck in there anywhere.
That's a good thing.
And when you got these kids,
Just
Right.
Reels, you know.
and we started out with like 15 kids the first year. This past year we had 88 kids,
Wow.
and their parents they have to come with an adult, and it's all free, you know. So
Lunch.
yeah, including a lunch when we're done. So
Sounds like a really good organization.
it is. It's very good. I mean, we do a lot of things with the schools now. Some of the ladies that I can't do it because it's on Thursday. We now have ladies in the club.
I was gonna ask.
Actually, more ladies than men.
Good
But
workers,
some of the
too.
ladies that we go to the schools and read to the,
Students.
yeah, usually kindergarten
Oh, nice.
kids, and they always have a 15 or half hour time of book reading.
That's wonderful.
So we do that, and it's a wonderful organization, and we hope we can keep it going for many
Well,
more years.
I thank you for your time and effort in that organization.
It's-
And Shirley, so you and Ron did start a family at some point, right?
Yes. We have we have one son and one daughter, and they went to Pattonville. They graduated from Pattonville. I graduated from Pattonville. Ron graduated from Rittner.
Which I
So-
hear about all the time.
And then we have 3 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren.
In fact, our daughter lives about 3 blocks from us.
Really?
And our son, he lives in,
Oh.
they say Lake St. Louis or Dardine Prairie. But
Yeah.
yeah, he lives there.
Just recently, we had pretty big tornado hit in Bridgeton, and not far from we are sitting right now, some of the homes were badly hit. What about your house? Did you have any damage?
We had some roof damage on this roof. Luckily, that was all. I mean, one block over, the roofs are gone.
Isn't that interesting?
So it
how
was
that
very
happens?
close. We were in the basement after the 2011
Right.
tornado. I think everybody learned, make sure you go in. So we were down there and I heard a really loud, didn't sound like a train,
No.
just a loud swoosh type noise. And when these houses were built, every house, there's one there, oak trees. So obviously they're over 50 years old, big oak trees. Well, one of them was right across from us, it fell. Luckily, it just missed everybody's house. It broke in two and split, and crazy things happened. I came upstairs from the basement and I said, I saw flashers from a car light out here. So I get my flashlight out and I go out to this tree. Somehow, I mean, this big around, split, and it fell in between this car with people in it.
Couple.
Oh my gosh.
And they couldn't go forward or backward. I mean, it just dropped in between them.
Oh, how scary.
And I thought there was somebody in there, so I went out and looked, and they lived like 4 houses down, and they just left the flashes on and walked home.
Oh,
They couldn't do anything
but
with the
they were
car.
able to get out and walk
Yes,
home. Well,
thank goodness. Another
yes,
second or two, they
scary.
probably
Yes.
would have died.
right.
But yeah, a lot of tree damage. All the oak trees on this street, there was probably 40 oak trees. There's 3 left. So the winds between the 2 tornadoes and the fact that the trees are dying,
Right.
fortunately for us, ours was taken down. Bridgeton's such a great community. Unfortunately, when they built these, they put the trees on the easement, so they're the responsibility of the city.
Right.
So
Yes.
they have to come out and take it down at the city's expense.
Shirley, I was wondering if you remember anything about the Patent bill. We've heard from talking from other people that once upon a time they had a volunteer fire department.
Yes, yes. And they had a system set up where there was one main phone line in the ladies' couple's house. They would call that main line, and then she would call the volunteer firemen, which was probably like 8 different families, and they would get into their car and drive to the fire station, which was on Fifi Road. And my father was a lieutenant of the fire department, and he had a black and white car, which kind of looked like a police car. And at that time I was in junior high, and we were at a party at my friends and boys and girls on Raymond, and so all of a sudden, and we were just playing music, maybe a little bit too loud in the basement. One of the boys looks out the window and he said, the police, they're here, the police are here. Well, us girls just sat there. The boys took out. Now, why were they running?
Yeah.
There was no reason to run. There was no liquor, no drugs, no nothing. Just having a good time. Maybe the music was a little loud. And I looked out the window, and it was my dad. His car was black and white. So it's not a police car. It looked like one maybe, because he had a red little light on top with the fire department. So
So he was a party pooper.
right. He had come to pick myself and my friends up.
Oh.
But they were just like, And we said, what are you all running for, you know? We said, nothing's going on, nothing's happening, you know, we're not smoking anything, it was nothing like that, you know?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know any of the, much about Bridgeton living in St. Anne, but she knows a lot about well, everything around Brannicky Hardware was the only thing there. And of course, the Lucas house.
Right, that Brannicky Hardware was a little hangout for us, because if we did not drive a car, well, we may walk up to Brannicky's and hang out. They had a grocery store on the side of it connected, very small, but it was a butcher shop in the back and soda machines and everything out in front, and we would hang out there for some time. And then the children's home, Missouri Baptist Children's Home, my father sold the farm to Missouri Baptist Children's Home.
He owned that land where it was?
Where the farm, but yes, where on the way to St. Charles by the bridge where we moved from when I was 5, and he sold it to Missouri Baptist Children's Home, and there it was a real children's home at that time, and what they bought it for is to, in the summertime, bring the kids down there, especially the boys, and let them farm the acreage and keep whatever they would plant and sell it. They did. But, and a lot of times, those children went to school at Pattonville, and we would maybe get to be friends with the girls or something and say, could you come to my house? Could you come to our house? Well, it was pretty much an ordeal. You had to have your mother go to or they would come to your house, the room mother, they called them, it's not a room mother, they called them something else. And so my mother and father filled the proper paperwork out to have a friend come over, but it was really, and they were very well behaved children. I remember that they were very, very nice. Everybody, I don't know what they called it was not a room mother, a house mother, I think maybe, but yeah, it was very, very nice. And so we moved up here, and like I say, I worked, and Ron had a shop. Our kids went to the Carrollton School, graduated from high school, Pattonville High School, and they had actually, there was a couple teachers that were my teachers when I went to school. I know the art teacher said to my son, by any chance, is your mother, did she go to school here? I kind of remember her in my class.
Oh, wow. What was your maiden name?
Werman.
Can you spell it for us?
Woehrmann.
Oh, was it German?
German.
I see.
Very much German.
Well, I think we're probably running out of time, and sorry we can't talk more and more and more, but thank you so much for letting us come over. And,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm
Really?
sure a lot of people will really enjoy watching this.
I hope so. Yeah, it's there's a lot of history. I don't
Thank
know
you.
as much of it as she does, but
No, you know a lot too.
Thank you so much.
thank you.
You're welcome.